Hello, it's your favorite sports thunk here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the fastest growing community on YouTube. So please subscribe or you're going to make Ocho cry.
So why would he say it?
Because he's a liar. Nobody knows why liars lie.
Just saying it's a crazy time. You can't afford not to like black people. You don't like black people enough, you could become one yourself. I'm not the only black man with a bunch of mug shots.
You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends.
They did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that.
Get with a white woman because I was scared. Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. Thank you, Megan Good. God bless you. Coming to save that slave. Guilty, 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 guilty. Part of that contract is you do understand whenever we want to take you down, we can, right?
1 week, he's negotiating a $100 million deal that would make him one of the biggest names in sports media. The next, his entire career is in ruins. Wiped out by a lawsuit, a secret settlement, and a firing so swift ESPN didn't even bother to issue a press release. Shannon Sharpe's downfall wasn't just fast, it was brutal. And the wildest part? People close to him say he saw it coming and ignored every warning. From late-night advice on Club Shay Shay to industry whispers about a ticking time bomb, the signs were everywhere. And yet, he walked straight into the trap. The lawsuit that lit the fuse. In April 2025, the sports world got blindsided. Court documents hit the public record, and the name on the defendant line was a shock. Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Fame tight end, ESPN commentator, and one of the most recognizable voices in sports talk. The plaintiff? A 19-year-old OnlyFans model named Gabriella Zuniga. The allegations were explosive: sexual assault, battery, and emotional abuse, all packaged in a $50 million lawsuit that landed just 3 days after news broke that Sharpe was on the verge of signing a groundbreaking $100 million podcast and media deal. Overnight, the narrative around him shifted. He wasn't the charismatic, quick-witted unk giving hilarious sports takes anymore. He was a man facing the kind of accusations that could end a career before a judge even hears the first argument. And while legal experts noted the case could take years to resolve in court, insiders were already whispering that Shannon didn't want it to drag out, that the longer it stayed in headlines, the harder it would be to salvage his image, his ESPN job, and that once-in-a-lifetime media contract. From the outside, it looked like the start of a long, messy legal fight. But behind the scenes, the clock was ticking toward a deal that would take the case off the books. And as it turned out, take Shannon's career with it. And when that deal finally came, it didn't buy him the safety net he thought it would. The settlement and ESPN's silent exit. By mid-July 2025, the legal storm ended almost as abruptly as it began. Court records showed the lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice, meaning Gabriella Zuniga could never file it again. The official language was carefully worded: no admission of wrongdoing, no public trial, no more details. But the part that grabbed everyone's attention, the settlement, nobody involved disclosed the exact amount. But whispers inside sports media circles put it anywhere from 8 figures to life-changing generational wealth. Some insiders swore it was over $10 million. Others claimed it was closer to $20 million. The one thing everyone agreed on: it was big enough to make the case vanish in record time. Shannon's camp thought this was the move that would save his career, that ESPN, eager to keep a star on the roster, would appreciate his effort to make the problem go away quietly. But he miscalculated. Instead of relief, ESPN moved in silence. No heartfelt goodbye segment, no corporate statement praising his contributions. Just a quiet confirmation to reporters that his time with the network was over. Sources close to Disney, ESPN's parent company, said the decision was made the moment the settlement was signed. The optics were simply too damaging for them to keep him, especially with the story still dominating headlines. And while Shannon might have been ready to move on, the next development made it clear this scandal wasn't going to fade quietly. Because less than 24 hours after cashing that settlement check, Gabriella Zuniga made an announcement that sent social media into a frenzy. The OnlyFans retirement herd round the internet. It was the kind of post that needed no explanation, and yet it told the whole story. Less than 24 hours after Shannon Sharpe's settlement hit the news, Gabriella Zuniga took to Instagram with a smiling selfie and a short statement. Today, I have decided to retire from OnlyFans. Thank you for the incredible support you've shown me for the past few years. This community has given me a life I could never have imagined. I'm excited for this next chapter and can't wait to share what's coming next. No mention of Shannon, no mention of the lawsuit, but the timing was Impossible to ignore. Social media lit up instantly. Memes, side-by-side screenshots, and captions like, Shannon Sharpe really retired this girl for life, flooded X, Instagram, and TikTok. Some posts mocked Gabriella as a master strategist who secured the bag and clocked out, while others ridiculed Shannon for paying out millions to someone who'd been in his life for barely a blink. Then the comparison started. Old clips resurfaced of Shannon insisting he wouldn't spend more than $30,000 on his own daughter's wedding, and people didn't hold back. So, you'll give millions to a 19-year-old influencer but cap your daughter's big day at $30,000? Wild, one user wrote. This wasn't just about the lawsuit anymore. In the public's eyes, it had become a story of priorities, pride, and perception, and the tide of sympathy was turning hard against him. And just when it seemed the internet had said all it could, someone stepped up with receipts and a very public, I told you so. Public backlash, resurfaced comments, and hypocrisy claims. The internet didn't waste a second turning Shannon Sharpe's scandal into an open season. Old interviews, podcast clips, and throwaway lines from Club Shay Shay started getting dug up, clipped, and reposted with captions that were half joke, half dagger. One of the most viral resurfaced moments, Shannon talking about how he'd never go over $30,000 for his daughter's wedding. In any other context, it might have been shrugged off as a frugal dad moment, but now, paired with rumors he paid millions to settle with a 19-year-old OnlyFans model, it read like the ultimate hypocrisy. Then came the so-called receipts. Screenshots allegedly showing Gabriella charging him $25,000 for each cheat began circulating online. Whether they were legitimate or just internet fiction didn't seem to matter. They fit the narrative the public was building. That Shannon wasn't just caught slipping, he was getting played like a fiddle. The tone in comment sections was relentless. You wouldn't spend on your daughter, but you'll bankroll someone who saw you as a walking ATM? All that wisdom for everyone else, and you couldn't save yourself? The same guy warning young players about traps walked straight into the biggest one. And that last point hit especially hard, because the very warnings people were quoting didn't come from random critics. They came from someone who told Shannon to his face that this could happen. Enter Katt Williams, ready to collect on one of the most public I told you so's in sports media history. The Katt Williams, I told you so moment. Long before Gabriella Zuniga's name ever hit a headline, Katt Williams had already played the role of prophet. Sitting across from Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, Katt wasn't pulling jokes out of thin air. He was dropping a warning that now feels like it was written for this exact moment. I think white women are as great as any other women, Katt said, locking eyes with Shannon. But I'm not going to act like I'm not scared of them. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit A down in 2 weekends. At the time, the audience laughed. Shannon grinned and kept the conversation moving. But behind the scenes, insiders now say Katt already knew Shannon was seeing Gabriella. He knew the age gap, he knew the risks, and he knew, in his words, how the game gets played when fame and money meet someone with leverage. Even Monique chimed in during another interview, telling Shannon straight up to get somebody to love you before it was too late. Again, the advice was brushed off. Fast forward to after the settlement and firing, and Katt wasn't exactly rushing to soften the blow. Sources close to him said he had no sympathy for Shannon's situation, because to him it was simple. The man had been warned, and he still walked right into the trap. And while Katt's words might have felt like just another bit back then, they became the unofficial soundtrack to Shannon's downfall. But if losing ESPN was bad, the next hit made it clear the real loss was worth a whole lot more than a broadcast desk. The Gabriella Zuniga persona, how she played the game. To really understand why this story blew up the way it did, you have to look at who Gabriella Zuniga was before the lawsuit. She wasn't just another name on OnlyFans. She had crafted a whole online persona, curated Instagram feeds, high-quality photo shoots, collaborations with brands, and a following that treated her more like a celebrity than a content creator. Her captions were always just cryptic enough to spark speculation, her stories timed to keep people checking back, and her image balance between approachable and untouchable. To her audience, she was both fantasy and businesswoman, someone who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to charge for it. That's why, when the lawsuit dropped, So many people instantly believed she could have orchestrated the entire situation. Whether that's true or not almost didn't matter. The perception was set. Gabriella wasn't stumbling into this. She was playing the game. And the post-settlement moves only fueled that narrative. Retiring from OnlyFans within 24 hours. Hinting at new projects without revealing a single detail. Staying silent on specifics while letting the internet fill in the blanks. Every step kept her name in the headlines without her having to say much at all. In the court of public opinion, Gabriella walked away, not just with a payout, but with a perfectly timed rebrand. She went from an adult content creator to a woman of mystery with generational wealth and the luxury of picking her next move. And that's exactly why Shannon's PR nightmare wasn't just about losing a lawsuit. It was about losing control of the narrative to someone who knew exactly how to keep it in her hands. And that loss of control is what made the next blow. The collapse of his $100 million deal feel like the final nail in the coffin. Career fallout and the $100 million deal that vanished before the lawsuit. Shannon Sharpe was on the brink of something huge. In mid-April 2025, just 3 days before Gabriella Zuniga's accusations went public, Front Office Sports reported that he was finalizing a podcast and media empire deal worth over $100 million. The deal would have locked in every Shay Shay media property, Club Shay Shay, Nightcap with Chad Johnson, Club 520, The Bubba Dub Show, even Humble Baddies, under one massive umbrella, giving him total creative control and securing generational wealth on his own terms. It was a once-in-a-lifetime contract. But in the world of big media, timing is everything, and Shannon's timing couldn't have been worse. Once the lawsuit hit, advertisers got skittish. Disney executives started distancing themselves, and the moment the settlement was signed, sources say the $100 million offer was pulled entirely. No company wanted their brand tied to the headline sexual misconduct settlement, especially one involving an influencer nearly 3 decades younger than him. It wasn't just about public perception either. In the corporate world, the stain of a scandal lingers far longer than the news cycle. Shannon hadn't just lost his ESPN platform. He'd lost the trust of the executives who were about to make him one of the highest paid independent voices in sports and entertainment. And in a single week, the man who seemed untouchable was left without a network, without the deal of his life, and without a clear path back, which raised the question everyone wanted answered. Where does Shannon Sharpe go from here? What comes next for Shannon Sharpe? Publicly, Shannon has been putting on a brave face. On his Nightcap podcast, he addressed the firing without bitterness, saying he was at peace with ESPN's decision and grateful for his time there. He even took a moment to apologize, not to the network, but to his older brother, Sterling Sharpe, whose Hall of Fame induction landed just days after the firing news broke. According to Shannon, he begged ESPN to delay the announcement until after the ceremony so it wouldn't overshadow his brother's big moment. ESPN refused. The headlines rolled in anyway, and the focus shifted from Sterling's achievement to Shannon's scandal. On air, Shannon recalled his brother telling him, "Stop apologizing. I love you regardless. We all make mistakes." But even as he repeated those words, you could hear the weight in his voice. Behind the scenes, the road ahead looks far less certain. Without ESPN, he's cut off from the Disney empire, which means no access to ABC, Hulu, or any other network under their umbrella. That $100 million media deal is dead. And in the wake of the settlement, any potential corporate partner has to weigh the risk of aligning their brand with a figure whose biggest trending moment in 2025 involved a sexual misconduct payout. Could Shannon go independent? Absolutely. His name still carries weight, and his style still draws an audience. But the scale of his next move will almost certainly be smaller. And rebuilding his credibility in a digital-first, scandal-hungry world is a fight most never win. And that's why so many people see his story less as an isolated mistake and more as a cautionary tale, the lesson in the downfall. In less than 12 months, Shannon Sharpe went from negotiating a 9-figure payday to watching his career implode in real time. He had the platform, the influence, the audience, and the leverage to become one of the most powerful voices in sports media. And he lost it all over one relationship and one decision he couldn't take back. Some call it a setup, others call it ego. But whatever you believe, there's no denying the pattern. In an age where scandals move faster than contracts can be signed, all it takes is one headline to erase decades of work. And that's what makes this story sting even more. Shannon wasn't blindsided. He'd been warned by friends, by peers, even on his own show, that situations like this could burn everything down. He brushed it off, kept moving, and paid the price. Now, instead of celebrating a $100 million milestone, he's figuring out how to rebuild from the ground up while the public debates whether he deserves a second act. Some fans are ready to forgive, others say he's done for good. So here's the question. Was this downfall truly inevitable? Or could Shannon Sharpe have avoided it all if he'd just listened? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Because one thing's for sure, in 2025, nobody's untouchable.